Maya had always been the type of person who stayed late at work. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The marketing office on the 15th floor of the downtown building became her second home. While everyone else rushed out at 5 o'clock to catch trains and meet friends, Maya found peace in the quiet hours after sunset. Tonight was no different. The clock on her computer screen showed 9:15 p.m. and the office was nearly empty. Just her, the cleaning lady who came by around 10, and the security guard who made his rounds every hour. Maya liked it this way. No phone calls, no meetings, no colleagues stopping by to chat about weekend plans she didn't have. She had been working on the Peterson account for the past 3 months. It was a big deal. The kind of client that could make or break careers. If she landed this project, the promotion she had been chasing for 2 years would finally be hers. Senior account manager, her own office, a salary that would let her stop eating instant noodles for dinner. The presentation slides glowed on her laptop screen. Charts and graphs filled with numbers that told the story of why Peterson Industries should trust their advertising budget to her company. She had gone over these slides 100 times, but something still felt missing. That special spark that would make the client sit up and pay attention. Maya rubbed her eyes and leaned back in her chair. The office building stretched out below her window, lights flickering in other windows where people were also working late. She wondered what kept them all here past normal hours. Were they chasing promotions too? Or were they like her, finding comfort in the predictable routine of work when everything else in life felt uncertain? Her phone buzzed with a text from her roommate asking if she would be home for dinner again. Maya typed back a quick no, working late, and put the phone aside. Lisa meant well, but she didn't understand. This wasn't just about work anymore. This was about proving something to herself. The building was so quiet she could hear the elevator moving between floors. Somewhere down the hall, a door closed softly. Maya assumed it was the cleaning crew getting started early. She turned back to her presentation, clicking through slides and making small adjustments to the color scheme. That's when she heard it. A single knock on her office door. Not the hurried tap, tap, tap of someone in a rush. Not the confident knock of her boss, who usually announced himself with 3 sharp raps. This was different. Careful. Almost hesitant, like whoever was on the other side was thinking twice about disturbing her. Maya paused, her finger hovering over the mouse. In all her late nights at the office, people rarely knocked. The cleaning crew had keys and usually announced themselves with a cheerful hello. Security guards made their presence known with heavy footsteps and jingling keys. The knock came again. Same rhythm, same hesitation. Come in, Maya called out, not looking away from her screen. She expected to see the familiar face of the evening security guard, maybe doing an extra check because of all the recent break-ins in downtown buildings. But when the door opened slowly, Maya found herself looking at someone completely unexpected. It was Alex, the new graphic designer who had started at the company just 2 weeks ago. Maya had noticed her around the office, quiet, focused, always carrying a stack of design portfolios and art supplies. They had exchanged polite hellos in the elevator and brief nods during team meetings, but never really talked. What struck Maya as odd was what Alex was carrying. Her arms were full of stuff. Design boards, a small plant in a brown pot, a coffee mug with cartoon characters on it, and what looked like personal items from her desk. It was the kind of collection someone might carry when they were cleaning out their workspace. Alex stood in the doorway, backlit by the hallway lights. Her long black hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she wore the same vintage band t-shirt and jeans she had worn to work that day. But there was something different about her expression. Something Maya couldn't quite read. Is everything okay? Maya asked, finally looking up from her laptop. It's pretty late. Alex didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped into the office, still holding all her belongings. The fluorescent lights caught her face, and Maya could see she looked tired but also determined about something. I was hoping you'd still be here, Alex said quietly. The statement hung in the air between them. Maya felt a small flutter of confusion. Had they scheduled a meeting she had forgotten about? Was there a project deadline she had missed? Did you need something for work? Maya asked, gesturing to the extra chair across from her desk. You can sit down if you want. Though I have to warn you, I'm pretty focused on this Peterson presentation right now. Alex took another step into the office, and Maya noticed how carefully she was balancing everything in her arms. The design boards were slipping slightly, and the small plant was tilted at an angle that made it look like it might fall at any moment. "Actually," Alex said, "I wanted to talk to you about something. Something that's not really about work." Maya saved her presentation and gave Alex her full attention. There was something about the way Alex was standing there, surrounded by her belongings, that made this moment feel important somehow, like whatever was about to happen would change something between them. The office building hummed quietly around them. Outside, the city continued its evening routine. Traffic lights changing, people walking home from late dinners, the distant sound of a train pulling into the station. But inside Maya's office, time seemed to slow down. Alex shifted her weight, trying to get a better grip on everything she was carrying. The coffee mug slipped slightly and she had to readjust quickly to keep it from falling. "Maybe you should put some of that down," Maya suggested with a small smile. "It looks like you're about to drop everything." Alex looked down at her overloaded arms and then back at Maya, and that's when Maya saw it. A flash of something in Alex's eyes. Not embarrassment about carrying too much. Not worry about the late hour or the awkwardness of showing up unannounced. It was anticipation. Like Alex knew something was about to happen that Maya didn't understand yet. "Yeah," Alex said softly, still looking directly at Maya. "I probably will." Alex took another step forward and Maya could see her struggling with all the stuff in her arms. The design boards were sliding against each other, making that soft paper-on-paper sound. The little plant was definitely tilting now, its pot balanced precariously on top of a thick portfolio folder. "Seriously, you should put some of that down," Maya said again, half standing from her chair. "Here, let me help you." But before Maya could move around her desk, it happened. Maybe it was because Alex had been carrying too much for too long. Maybe her hands were sweaty from nerves. Maybe the universe just decided this was the perfect moment for chaos. Whatever the reason, everything started slipping at once. First, the design boards went. They slid out from under her arm like a deck of cards being shuffled, floating down toward the floor in slow motion. Maya watched, almost mesmerized, as page after page of colorful layouts and typography samples drifted through the air. Some landed face up, showing off bright logos and creative fonts. Others flipped over, revealing notes and sketches in Alex's handwriting. The coffee mug came next. It was one of those chunky ceramic mugs that looked like it weighed more than it should. Maya expected it to shatter when it hit the ground, sending pieces of cartoon characters across her office floor. But somehow, by some miracle, it landed on the thick carpet with just a dull thud. It rolled once, twice, then settled against the leg of Maya's desk, completely intact. The portfolio folders scattered in different directions. One slid under Maya's visitor chair, another landed open near the window, spilling out photographs and color swatches. A third folder hit the edge of the trash can and bounced, sending its contents flying like confetti. But it was the plant that created the real mess. The little succulent in its terracotta pot had been the most unstable thing in Alex's arms from the start. When everything else let go, the plant seemed to hang in the air for just a moment longer, as if it was considering its options. Then gravity took over. The pot hit the corner of Maya's desk with a sharp crack and the whole thing exploded. Rich, dark soil scattered everywhere. It landed on Maya's keyboard, her papers, her coffee cup from that morning. Some of it even reached her lap, leaving small dark spots on her white blouse. The little green plant itself bounced once and came to rest right in the middle of Maya's Peterson presentation printouts, its tiny leaves now decorated with specks of dirt. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The office was completely silent except for the gentle hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic 15 floors below. Maya stared at the disaster zone that used to be her organized workspace. Her neat piles of papers were now buried under soil and scattered design samples. Her carefully arranged desk accessories were hidden behind fallen portfolio boards. The promotion presentation she had been perfecting for months was now serving as a landing pad for a homeless succulent. She looked up at Alex, expecting to see panic, expecting apologies and frantic cleanup attempts and explanations about how this wasn't supposed to happen. Instead, Alex was smiling. Not a nervous, embarrassed smile. Not the kind of awkward grin people put on when they're trying to laugh off a mistake. This was something completely different. It was confident, knowing, almost like Alex had planned this whole thing. The smile started small, just a slight upturn at the corners of Alex's mouth. But it grew as the seconds passed, becoming something warm and genuine and totally unexpected. Her eyes were bright, focused entirely on Maya's face, like she was memorizing this exact moment. "Well," Alex said softly, still smiling. "I told you I'd probably drop everything." Maya felt something shift inside her chest. It wasn't annoyance about the mess, though she probably should have been annoyed. It wasn't worry about her presentation, though the Peterson papers were definitely going to need reprinting. It was something else entirely. There was something about the way Alex was looking at her. Like this wasn't an accident or a disaster. Like this messy moment was exactly what she had been hoping for. "Are you—" Maya started, then stopped. She wasn't sure what question she wanted to ask. "Are you okay? Are you sorry? Are you completely out of your mind?" Alex knelt down and picked up one of the scattered design boards, but she didn't seem to be in any hurry. Her movements were calm, deliberate, like someone who had all the time in the world to clean up a mess. "I should probably explain," Alex said, still kneeling on the floor surrounded by the chaos, "about why I'm here, about why I was carrying all this stuff, about why I'm not as upset about this mess as I probably should be." Maya realized she was holding her breath. The office felt charged with possibility, like the air before a thunderstorm. She had no idea what Alex was about to say, but she had the strangest feeling that whatever it was, it would change everything. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Somewhere in the building, an elevator dinged softly. Outside, the city continued its evening routine, completely unaware that something important was happening in a small office on the 15th floor. Alex looked up from where she was kneeling, still holding that same confident smile. "The truth is," she said, "I've been wanting to talk to you for weeks, and tonight I finally worked up the courage to knock on your door." Maya felt her heart skip a beat. "Talk to me about what?" Alex's smile got a little bigger. "About the fact that you work late every single night. About how I've been staying late too, hoping I'd run into you. About how I quit my job today, and you're the first person I wanted to tell." The succulent sat between them on Maya's scattered papers, its little green leaves catching the office light. It looked perfectly content in its new home, like it had been planning this move all along. Maya looked at Alex kneeling on her office floor, surrounded by the beautiful chaos of scattered designs and spilled soil, smiling like she held the secret to something wonderful. And for the first time in months, Maya forgot all about her presentation, her promotion, and her carefully planned career goals. All she could think about was that smile, and the way Alex was looking at her like she was the most interesting thing in the world. Maya stared at Alex, trying to process what she had just heard. "You quit your job today." The words echoed in her mind, mixing with the image of Alex kneeling on her office floor, completely unfazed by the mess she had just created. "You quit?" Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "But you just started 2 weeks ago." Alex nodded, carefully placing the design board she was holding into a neat pile. "I got a better offer. A design studio across town wants me to start Monday. Better pay, more creative freedom, the whole package, like that's—" Maya struggled to find the right words. "That's great news, congratulations." But even as she said it, Maya felt something heavy settle in her stomach. Alex was leaving. Just when Maya was starting to notice things about her, the way she arranged her pencils in perfect color order, how she always said good morning to everyone, even when they didn't say it back, the small ritual of making tea every afternoon at exactly 3 o'clock. "Thank you," Alex said, then paused. "But that's not really why I'm here." Maya watched as Alex continued gathering the scattered papers, her movements slow and purposeful. There was something hypnotic about the way she worked, like she was performing some kind of meditation rather than cleaning up a mess. "I've been watching you," Alex said quietly, not looking up from the floor. "Not in a creepy way," she added quickly, glancing at Maya with a slight smile. "But I've noticed things, like how you're always the last person to leave the building, how you eat lunch at your desk while everyone else goes out, how you take the stairs instead of the elevator, because you say you need the exercise, but I think it's really because you like having a few minutes to yourself." Maya felt exposed, like Alex had been reading her diary without permission. These were small things, private things she didn't think anyone had noticed. "I noticed you too," Maya admitted, surprising herself with the honesty. "You're the only person in the office who actually waters the plants by the window, and you always hold the elevator door open for people, even when you're obviously running late." Alex looked up, their eyes meeting across the scattered mess. You noticed that? I notice a lot of things, Maya said. I just don't usually mention them. Alex picked up the coffee mug and examined it for cracks. Finding none, she set it gently on Maya's desk. Can I tell you something else I noticed? Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. Every night when I leave, your office light is still on. And every morning when I get here early to avoid the elevator rush, your coffee cup is already in the sink in the break room, which means you're here later than everyone else and earlier than everyone else. I like the quiet, Maya said defensively. It helps me focus. I know, Alex said softly. But it also means you spend a lot of time alone. The words hit Maya harder than she expected. She had built her life around routines that kept her busy, productive, moving toward her goals. But Alex was right, they also kept her alone. What made you think about that? Maya asked. Alex sat back on her heels, surrounded by the organized piles she was creating from the chaos. Because I do the same thing. Different reasons maybe, but same result. I stay late working on personal projects. I eat lunch alone so I can sketch in my notebook. I take on extra assignments so I don't have to think about how quiet my apartment gets after work. Maya felt something click into place, like a puzzle piece she hadn't realized was missing. So we're both hiding in our work, Alex finished. Yeah, I think we are. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of quiet that happens when two people recognize something true about each other, something they might not have admitted to themselves before. Maya got up from her chair and knelt down beside Alex, starting to help gather the scattered papers. Their hands brushed as they reached for the same document and neither of them pulled away. These are really good, Maya said, looking at one of Alex's design samples. It was a logo concept for a local coffee shop. Simple, clean, but with a warmth that made you want to walk in and stay a while. Thank you, Alex said. That was for a client who wanted something that felt like home. You captured it perfectly, Maya said, meaning it. This makes me want to curl up with a book and a hot drink. Alex smiled, the first shy smile Maya had seen from her all evening. That was the idea. They worked together in comfortable silence, creating order from the chaos. Maya found herself paying attention to small things. How Alex arranged the design boards by color and theme. How she carefully brushed soil off each rescued paper. How she kept glancing at Maya when she thought she wasn't looking. Can I ask you something? Maya said as they worked. When you knocked on my door tonight, did you know this was going to happen? The dropping everything, I mean. Alex paused, holding a photograph of what looked like a wedding invitation design. Honestly, I was so nervous about talking to you that I probably would have dropped everything even if I wasn't caring so much. Nervous about what? Alex set the photograph down carefully. About telling you that I've been hoping to run into you for weeks. About admitting that I signed up for the office coffee fund I don't even use just because you're always the one organizing it. About explaining that when I saw you working alone night after night, I wanted to be the person who made sure you had company. Maya felt her heart do something complicated in her chest. You wanted to keep me company? I wanted a lot of things, Alex said quietly. But mostly I wanted to know if you ever got lonely in this big empty building. Because I did. Even surrounded by people all day, I felt lonely. Until I started noticing you. Maya looked around her office, at her neat desk, her organized files, her carefully planned workspace that had been turned upside down by one person and a potted plant. For the first time in months, the space felt alive. I do get lonely, Maya admitted. I just got good at pretending I didn't. Alex nodded like she understood completely. Me too. They finished gathering the last of the scattered papers, and Maya realized she didn't want this moment to end. Tomorrow, Alex would start her new job across town. The office would go back to its usual routine, and Maya would go back to working alone in the quiet hours after everyone else went home. Unless something changed. The succulent, Maya said suddenly, looking at the small plant sitting in the middle of her desk. Is it okay? Alex followed her gaze and smiled. Succulents are tougher than they look. A little chaos doesn't hurt them. Sometimes it even helps them grow. Maya had the feeling they weren't just talking about plants anymore. Alex, she said, before you start your new job on Monday, would you maybe want to have coffee with me? Real coffee, not the terrible stuff from the office machine. Alex's smile could have powered the entire building. I thought you'd never ask. The coffee invitation hung in the air between them like a bridge neither of them was quite ready to cross yet. Alex was still kneeling on the floor, holding the last scattered design sample, but her smile had shifted into something softer, more vulnerable. "Before I answer that," Alex said quietly, "there's something else I need to tell you. Something I should have mentioned when I first knocked on your door." Maya felt her stomach flutter with nerves. There was a seriousness in Alex's voice that hadn't been there before, like she was about to share something important and possibly complicated. "Okay," Maya said, settling back on her heels. "I'm listening." Alex took a deep breath, looking down at the design sample in her hands. It was a brochure layout for a local bookstore, full of warm colors and inviting fonts that made you want to spend hours browsing shelves. "The new job I mentioned," Alex began. "The one that starts Monday? I haven't actually accepted it yet." Maya blinked in surprise. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I told them I needed the weekend to think about it." "Which is true, but it's not the whole truth." Alex looked up, meeting Maya's eyes. "The whole truth is that I've been torn about leaving because of you. Because of me." Maya's voice came out smaller than she intended. Alex nodded, setting the brochure design aside and focusing entirely on Maya. "For the past 2 weeks, you've been the best part of my workday. Not just because you're kind to everyone, or because you always remember to refill the coffee machine when it's empty, but because every time I see you, I wonder what you're thinking about. What makes you laugh. What you do when you're not here working late into the night." Maya felt her cheeks warm. She had spent so much time trying to be professional, to keep her personal life separate from work, that she had forgotten how good it felt when someone was genuinely curious about her as a person. "I've been wondering the same things about you," Maya admitted. "Like why you always bring different colored pens to meetings, or why you smile when you're working on something challenging instead of looking frustrated like everyone else." "The pens help me think in different ways," Alex said with a small laugh. "And I smile when things are challenging because that's when I know I'm learning something new." They were sitting on Maya's office floor now, surrounded by neat piles of rescued papers and design samples. The little succulent sat on Maya's desk like a silent witness to their conversation, its green leaves slightly dusty but otherwise unharmed by its adventure. "Can I tell you why I really quit today?" Alex asked. Maya nodded, though part of her was afraid of what the answer might be. "This morning I was in the elevator with you and 3 other people from accounting. They were talking about some office party, making plans, laughing about inside jokes. Normal coworker stuff." Alex paused, picking at a loose thread on her jeans. "But you weren't part of the conversation. You were just standing there, listening politely but not really included. And when the elevator stopped at your floor, you said goodbye and everyone responded, but it felt automatic. Like they were being polite but not really seeing you." Maya remembered that elevator ride. She had been thinking about her Peterson presentation, running through talking points in her head while her colleagues chatted around her. She hadn't minded being left out of the conversation. She was used to it. "After you got off," Alex continued, "one of them said something about how you're always so serious, like you don't know how to have fun. And another person laughed and said you probably go home and organize your sock drawer for entertainment." Maya winced. She had heard variations of this conversation before, usually when people thought she couldn't hear them. It stung, but she had learned to ignore it. "What bothered me wasn't that they said it," Alex said quickly, seeing Maya's expression. "What bothered me was that they were completely wrong about you and they didn't even know it." "Wrong how?" Alex leaned forward slightly, her voice becoming more animated. "Because I've seen you water the plants in the break room when you think no one's looking. I've watched you leave encouraging notes on people's desks when they're working on difficult projects. Last week, when the new intern spilled coffee all over the reception area, you were the only person who stopped to help her clean it up instead of just walking around the mess." Maya felt something loosen in her chest. These were small moments she hadn't thought anyone noticed. Things she did because they felt right, not because she wanted recognition. "You're not serious all the time," Alex continued. "You're thoughtful. There's a difference. And you don't organize sock drawers for fun. You stay late at work because you care about doing things well even when no one's watching." "How do you know I don't organize my sock drawer?" Maya asked, trying to lighten the mood even though her heart was beating faster. Alex grinned. "Because yesterday I saw you pull 2 completely different socks out of your bag during lunch. One had tiny cats on it and the other had polka dots. If you were a sock organizer, they would have matched." Maya laughed, a real laugh that surprised her with its brightness. "You notice my socks?" "I notice everything about you. Alex said simply. That's the problem. They looked at each other in the quiet office, and Maya realized that this moment felt more real than any conversation she'd had in months. Not because they were talking about anything dramatic or life-changing, but because Alex saw her clearly, not the professional version of herself she showed at meetings, not the efficient worker her boss valued, but the actual person underneath all of that. So when those people in the elevator were making jokes about you, Alex continued, I realized I couldn't stay at a job where I had to listen to people completely misunderstand someone She stopped, seeming to catch herself. Someone you what? Maya asked softly. Alex looked down at her hands, then back up at Maya. Someone I was starting to care about more than I probably should. The words settled between them like something fragile and valuable. Maya felt her breathing change, becoming more aware of each inhale and exhale. That's when I decided to quit, Alex said. Not because of the job offer, though that's real too, but because I couldn't stand the idea of watching you work alone every night and not doing something about it. Maya realized she was holding her breath. And what did you want to do about it? Alex smiled, the same confident smile she had worn after dropping everything, but warmer now, more open. I wanted to knock on your door and tell you that someone sees who you really are. I wanted to ask if you'd like some company during those long work nights. And I wanted to find out if maybe, just maybe, you've been as curious about me as I've been about you. The office felt charged with possibility. Outside, the city hummed with its usual evening energy. But inside this small space on the 15th floor, Maya felt like the world had narrowed down to just the two of them in this moment. I have been curious, Maya said quietly. More than curious, Alex's smile grew. Really? Really, Maya confirmed. And about that coffee invitation, yes. Definitely yes. 6 months later, Maya would tell people that Alex changed her life with a single knock on her office door. But sitting there on the carpet at 9:45 p.m. on a Tuesday night, surrounded by scattered papers and potting soil, she only knew that something important was happening. So, Maya said, trying to process everything Alex had just shared. You quit your job, turned down a better offer, and decided to dump everything on my office floor just to tell me you've been curious about me. Alex laughed, the sound echoing off the office walls. When you put it like that, it sounds pretty dramatic. It is dramatic, Maya said, but she was smiling. It's possibly the most dramatic thing that's ever happened in this office. And that includes the time someone accidentally sent a love letter to the entire company email list. Oh, I heard about that, Alex said. Poor Jennifer from HR. She never lived that down. They were both sitting cross-legged now, facing each other like kids at summer camp, sharing secrets after lights out. The formal distance of boss and employee, of co-workers who barely knew each other, had completely dissolved. Can I ask you something? Maya said. When you knocked on my door tonight, were you planning all of this? The dropping everything, the confession, all of it? Alex shook her head. Honestly, I was planning to chicken out. I walked past your office 3 times before I worked up the nerve to knock. And I was only carrying all that stuff because I cleaned out my desk earlier today and didn't want to make 2 trips to my car. So the whole dramatic entrance was an accident? The dropping everything was definitely an accident, Alex said. But the smiling afterward? That was on purpose. Why did you smile like that? Maya asked. Like you knew something I didn't? Alex was quiet for a moment, considering the question. Because when everything fell and made this huge mess, instead of getting angry or annoyed, you immediately wanted to help me clean it up. And I realized that all those things I had noticed about you, the kindness, the thoughtfulness, the way you see people clearly, they were all true. Maya felt warmth spread through her chest. That's a lot to figure out from someone's reaction to spilled potting soil. Maybe, Alex said, but it confirmed what I was hoping, that you're exactly the kind of person worth taking a chance on. The words hung between them, full of possibility and promise. Maya looked around her office, at the neat piles they had created from the chaos, at the little succulent sitting contentedly on her desk, at Alex sitting on her floor like she belonged there. You know, Maya said, I haven't eaten dinner yet, and I'm guessing you haven't either, considering you've been busy quitting jobs and making dramatic entrances. You're right, Alex said. I was too nervous to eat. Maya stood up, brushing soil off her pants. There's a 24-hour diner 2 blocks from here. They make terrible coffee but amazing pie. Want to continue this conversation somewhere that doesn't smell like office carpet and potting soil? Alex's face lit up. That sounds perfect. As they gathered their things, Maya realized she felt different. Lighter somehow. Like she had been carrying something heavy without realizing it and had finally set it down. The Peterson presentation could wait until tomorrow. The promotion would still be there in the morning. But this moment, this chance to get to know someone who had been brave enough to knock on her door, this felt more important than any client meeting or career goal. "Wait," Alex said as they reached the office door. "What about your presentation? Weren't you working on something important?" Maya looked back at her desk where her laptop still sat open to the Peterson slides. 2 hours ago, that presentation had been the most important thing in her world. Now it seemed like just another task on a very long list. "It can wait," Maya said. "Besides, I think I finally figured out what was missing from it." "What was missing?" "A reason to be excited about it," Maya said. "I was so focused on impressing the clients that I forgot why I loved this work in the first place." "Maybe some fresh perspective will help," Alex smiled. "I happen to know a graphic designer who's very good at fresh perspective. She might even be available for freelance consultation." "Is that so?" Maya said, turning off her office lights. "Does this designer happen to be starting a new job on Monday?" "Well," Alex said as they walked toward the elevators, "that depends on whether she decides to take it or not. She's still got the weekend to think about it." Maya pressed the elevator button and looked at Alex. What would help her decide? Honestly, knowing that someone she cares about thinks she should follow her instincts, even if it means taking a risk. The elevator arrived with a soft ding and they stepped inside. As the doors closed and they began their descent from the 15th floor, Maya found herself thinking about risks and instincts and the strange way life could change direction in a single evening. "For what it's worth," Maya said, "I think you should follow your instincts. They seem pretty good to me." Alex leaned against the elevator wall, studying Maya's face. "Even if it means turning down a sure thing for something uncertain?" "Especially then," Maya said. "The best things in life are usually uncertain at first." The elevator reached the ground floor and they walked through the empty lobby together. The security guard waved goodbye from his desk, probably relieved to see the last of the late workers finally heading home. Outside, the city was settling into its nighttime rhythm. Streetlights cast warm pools of yellow on the sidewalks, and the distant sound of music drifted from a late-night restaurant. The air was cool and clean, a perfect contrast to the recycled office atmosphere they had just left. "You know," Alex said as they walked toward the diner, "when I woke up this morning, I never imagined the day would end like this." "How did you imagine it would end?" Maya asked. "With me going home to my empty apartment, eating leftover takeout, and wondering if I'd ever work up the courage to actually talk to you." Maya smiled. "And instead?" "Instead, I'm walking to an all-night diner with someone who makes me want to be braver than I usually am." They reached the diner, its neon sign buzzing softly in the darkness. Through the windows, Maya could see a few other late-night customers, a group of college students sharing a plate of fries, an older man reading a paperback novel over coffee, a couple deep in quiet conversation. "Before we go in," Maya said, stopping on the sidewalk, "I want you to know something. Whatever you decide about the job, whatever happens next, I'm glad you knocked on my door tonight." Alex's smile was soft and genuine. "Even though I made a complete mess of your office?" "Especially because of that," Maya said. "I needed someone to shake things up. I just didn't know it until it happened." They stood there for a moment on the quiet sidewalk, two people who had started the evening as virtual strangers and were ending it as something else entirely, the beginning of what exactly neither of them knew yet. But that was okay. Some stories were meant to unfold slowly, one conversation at a time. "Come on," Alex said, reaching for the diner door. "Let's go get some terrible coffee and amazing pie. I want to hear more about this Peterson presentation, and I want to tell you about the design studio that's been trying to recruit me." "Deal," Maya said, following her inside. "But I'm buying. It's the least I can do for someone who quit their job just to have a conversation with me." "I didn't quit just to talk to you," Alex protested as they found a booth by the window. "No?" Alex slid into the seat across from her, still smiling like she knew a secret. "I quit so I could ask you out for coffee. The conversation was just a bonus." Maya laughed, feeling happier than she had in months. Outside the diner window, the city continued its eternal dance of lights and movement. But inside their little booth, Time seemed to slow down, giving them space to discover what they might become when one brave person decides to knock on a door and another decides to let them in.